going to be teaching you your reading strategy of the week, which is author's word choice. Okay, so first thing, once you determine the definition of the actual word the author uses, you should, one, think about the context, so how it's being used in the story, and ask yourself, what is the feeling, the mood, the tone, or the connotation of the word based on how it's used? So I'm going to go a little bit deeper in a connotation. First thing with the importance of author's word choice is the denotation and the connotation. So denotation is the actual definition of the word. So when Miss Eldred asks you to actually look in the dictionary for what it means, that is what denotation is referring to. The connotation, however, is a little bit different, and it is the connections we as readers make with the words that are used and the feelings that they might provoke, so negative or positive. So an example for denotation, you have youthful and you have juvenile. Both literally mean young. But the connotation, so the connections you might make, is youthful is full of life, positive, whereas juvenile is someone who acts immature or negative. So while you're reading today, consider the following. Based on the word used, do you feel it is being used positively or negatively? So start there. And then next, why do you think the author chose to use this word? Consider the context in which it was used. So if you're reading fiction, what is currently happening in your story? But if you're reading nonfiction, that's fine. Then to just ask yourself, what is happening within the particular section of my reading? So what is going on? That'll help you dig a little bit deeper. Next, try inserting synonyms of that word within the sentence. So synonym, think same words, that could work. First, it will help you understand the sentence better if you put it in there. So, joyful, a lot of us know what joyful means, but instead of saying joyful, you might insert happy. Two, then ask yourself, why did the author choose this word instead, right? Usually the author's choice of words, they will want a more powerful meaning. And I'm going to show you some examples in a moment. And then finally, what are other layers of the meaning or what connections might we make? All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to read a little bit out of Insignificant Life of a Cactus by Dusty Bowling. So it's actually from chapter 8. Some of you might have read this when we did book clubs. But it's pretty short, so I'm just going to read the whole thing and then go over 2 words with you. So behind Stagecoach Pass, at the center of the dirt trail where Billy and Fred lug around an endless stream of screaming children, stands a mountain. It's a tiny mountain. Well, maybe mountain is too generous of a word for it. It's more of a hill, a mighty hill that desperately wants to be a mountain, but a hill nonetheless. I like to walk down Main Street in early evening as the air starts to cool and the sky turns colors I've never seen before. I stop for a quick visit with Spaghetti, the poor mutant llama. Spaghetti, who understands how it feels be ostracized by the other kids. All right, I'm going to stop there. So that was just 2 short paragraphs. There was 2 words that immediately stuck out to me as a reader. And there's some connections I made with them. For example, we had desperately, which I think has a negative connotation. So the connections, when I'm using the word desperately or heard it used, I think it's usually in terms of being negative. And ostracize, which also I feel is used in instances which would be negative. So if you go a little further, desperately, so words that might make more sense in the sentence that I could input it. Desperately, I might say extreme desire or want. So extreme desire or want. And ostracize, left out or excluded. But you have to go one step a little bit deeper. I'm just going to move myself up here. So I might ask myself, what is the importance of choosing this word? Why might what might be the other layers be? So you have 2 examples here. So desperately, the hill wants to be a mighty mountain, the way Avon deeply desires to fit in with the other kids her age. Avon is almost desperate to fit in. And for those of you who've read it, we know Avon does not have arms, so she kind of just sticks out. But So she might desperately, just like the hill that wants to be a mountain, she's desperate to fit in. So I just dug a little bit deeper as a reader. I believe that hill is actually a metaphor for kind of what's going on in Avon's life. And I think that is why the author chose to include that hill and mountain scene and use the word desperate, because that's how Avon is feeling. And then ostracized. I love this word. I mean, it's very in the light of which it's being used, it's very negative. So Avon compares herself to a llama, Spaghetti, who knows how it feels to be different and left out. Which those are the two words that you could input instead of ostracized. But left out is not nearly as powerful as ostracized. When one is ostracized, they may also be shunned or ridiculed. And Avon feels that way because she might be shunned from the crowd because she doesn't have arms, and the kids worry that she won't actually fit in with them and the things they might do, and how could she be a normal kid if she doesn't have arms? Or ridiculed, like she talks about the different times that kids will kind of like whisper to their mom because she doesn't have arms, and she's using that word because Spaghetti, the llama, believe there's like a mask growing on his head, and it just looks kind of yucky and kind of weird, is also ostracized, that no one's going to come up to the petting zoo and see Spaghetti because he's kind of like weird looking and he might be ridiculed and shunned. So I hope while you're reading today, you use some of those reading strategies and take some time to really focus on author's word choice. I think authors are great models for us as future writers and as readers, kind of to explore using those more powerful words in our writing, but also really taking the time to understand them more deeply within our reading. If you have any questions, reach out to your teachers. I hope this helped.